Hi, my name is Bob Campana, and I brought you down to my little backyard retreat on my property. I have about an 8-acre little farm in the Central Valley of California. And the reason for this video today is to go over 3 different stories about the human connection and how important that is in building a small business. Who am I? Well, I basically have ran 8 different companies over the years, about $250 to $300 million in sales. So I'm 70 years old now. For around 30, 40 years, 50 years, I've averaged somewhere in the neighborhood of around $5 to $8 million a year in sales in a small business career. What I've learned in those local brick and mortar businesses is what I want to share with you with these human connection stories now. So let's get started with story number 1. I'm in my mid-40s at this point. I've got a very successful swimming pool company. I'm building hundreds of pools a year, and I'm still primarily the #1 salesperson that goes out and sells these jobs to the customers because it's a great credibility thing. The owner comes out, he's basically talking to you about your pool project. It's more of a human connection than bringing a salesperson out. So I go out to this particular project, which is an older couple. They happen to be in their late 70s, early 80s, and they're building this 5,000 square foot colonial mansion in our area. And we're going to be putting this formal pool in for them. And the wife is basically explaining to me how this project had been a dream of theirs their whole life, and how their husband had become successful later in life, and they were able to afford this project. And we're interviewing me about the swimming pool project, but there's one guy working over carpentry work, working in the next room, kind of putzing around and so forth. So she's walking around with her tape measure, making sure that things are going to be fitting. And she notices that the doors that going into her dining room, these French doors, the beautiful French doors open up, the opening is not lined up exactly correctly. And the door, when she went over and measured it, was not going to fit in the opening. She went over and talked to the man about it. She goes, "Sir, my husband and I measured the French door that's going in to the dining room here, and we measured the opening, and you can see where it's kind of off center. It's kind of cattywampus, and I hope you could straighten that up so that the door will fit in there." And he goes, "Sure, no problem." And she turns around and walks back. When she's walking back towards me, this construction guy went and took an 8-pound sledgehammer and just walked up to the framing of the door and just wham, hit this door with the sledgehammer. We all just jumped. We were freaking shocked that was the way that he was amending this change. She stopped dead in her tracks, turned around, got right in his face and said, "You are stealing my dream." That had such an impact on me, because I kind of synthesized it, crystallized everything that I was there for. I was there to perform their dream. And any small business person that understands that when people part with their money, they're buying something that they think is more valuable than the money that they have in their pocket. And in large construction projects or in larger purchases, it's always a dream. So don't steal people's dreams. Produce their dreams for them, and you will have a much more fulfilling business, and you will walk in your community in a much higher stature because people will know you fulfill dreams for their others. I sold that business, kind of retired a little bit for a while, and my daughters talked me into a property that I own to convert it into a restaurant. Well, anybody that is in small business, that's the scariest thing you're ever going to hear. Let's open a restaurant. But I was kind of full of myself a little bit at that point, and I felt that I was a pretty good business guy. And I basically said, you know what? I'm going to go into the restaurant business to prove to myself that I have what it takes to operate that very tricky and fickle business. So I went into that business and I started working on escapism and rewards on what they would get. So a swimming pool was a big reward. It was a status thing that basically people could create for their families, and it would be something that would be special. On a different level, just going out for a nice meal, connecting with other people. Brick and mortar businesses where you have an interconnection with people, it's so fulfilling to be able to bring your people skills up to a level where you look at it as you are there to facilitate the fruition and the completion of someone's dream. And if you take that into account and look at it in that way, that's a very special thing to hold in your hands. And it's a very special thing for you to be in charge of. And if you take it under that auspices and provide your service in that regard, I can assure you it will be more fulfilling to you than the person that you're providing the service to. Story number 2. I'm in the swimming pool and construction business, as I told you earlier, and there's show horses and work horses in that environment. A show horse is like what I would say the concrete guys, because even though the work horses put the plumbing and the steel reinforcement in the pool, they basically made sure it wouldn't crack and lose water, the people saw the concrete at the end. Concrete cracks. That's just the way it is. People spend a lot of money on their swimming pools. I get a call from this doctor that I had trusted me and said, you know, Bob, just do us a good job on this pool. We're very happy with it. I finished the job, and right on the steps where it's going into his pool, there's a crack in his concrete. He calls me up. He goes, hey, Bob, we got a problem out here. Can you come out and visit? I didn't like those calls, but I'd get them on occasion. So I'd go out to his house because I had sold him the pool. I'm responsible. He liked me, trusted me, and that's why he did. He goes, look, I selected you because I thought you would do the right thing, and now we've got a crack in our concrete, our brand new pool. It's not even filled with water yet, right where the step's going on. And I'd like this taken care of. And I looked at him, and I learned a question years ago from a very learned contractor. He said, a lot of the times, all you have to do is say, what would you like, or what do you expect us to do? And if we could do it, we would do that. So I went to the doctor. I said, doctor, what do you suggest we do about this problem? He goes, well, I know concrete cracks, but I think you need to pull it out and replace it. I didn't hesitate. I said, well, that's exactly what we're going to do. Even though it was like a $1,500 or $2,000 expense out of my pocket, I couldn't charge him for it. I had to take out of production and turn around and make the repair. And on occasion, you just have to do that. I made that repair. He was so tickled and happy. I probably got 20, 25 swimming pools out of that project, strictly from him referring and saying, you had a problem, but Bob went out and take care of it. He trusted me to basically do the right thing. I proved myself that I would do the right thing. And from that, business flowed for 20 years afterwards. Remember, when you have the opportunity, maybe you could just ask the customer, what do you suggest we do? More than likely, they're going to come up with a reasonable solution, and you're in a position to be able to grant that favor, or grant that request. Then it's not a favor because they hired you for a specific reason, and you're able to basically make that, rectify that change. You're going to feel good about it, and they're going to reinforce, and they're going to tell that story to others, because it's not going to be one that's common. So step up, bite the bullet, do the right thing, and I can assure you it'll pay you dividends for years. In this particular case, it was 20 plus years where I paid the dividend from that one decision. So there you have it. One of the things about running a brick and mortar business inside of a community is you're involved and you're having interpersonal relationships with people. That human connection is so fulfilling when you're inside of a community after you've layered years and years and years of interpersonal relationships with people inside of the community. It becomes that you become a part of the community, and you are a part of that community, and that's so fulfilling to be able to do that. My career was basically molded through interpersonal relationships with people, and my skill level to be able to build trust and connection to those people. Now, I'm talking about in construction was one thing that I was involved in, but then when we get into the restaurant business, the same thing. Being able to just have a nice meal and be respected and be identified. So what I do in the restaurant business, which very few people do, is I do table touches. On a Friday or Saturday night, usually, I will go to the restaurant and I will walk around and thank each individual customer for coming into the restaurant and choosing to come into our restaurant for their evening, for their small weekend reward. And I travel a lot, as you may know. And one of the travels that I took was to Vietnam. I went with a buddy of mine, and I'm walking down this street in Vietnam, and I see this gong store, and I decide I'm going to buy this gong. I bring it back to the United States, and I'm kind of thinking, what am I going to do with this gong? Well, we've all gone to restaurants where basically they happy birthday, they clap their hands, or the staff comes out and does all this kind of thing. It's kind of like quasi semi-embarrassing. So I come up with this idea where on a birthday, I walk up to the table, I let them hit the gong, the noise goes out in the ethos of space, and the gods grant their wish. Number one, nobody in any restaurants go around hitting gongs. The people would hear that at another part of the restaurant. What's that about? I would explain to them. And it connected everybody together inside the restaurant, knew that that particular table had a birthday. Sometimes they clap afterwards and say happy birthday. And that human connection made people feel special and unique. And being able to develop ways to recognize people in a certain way, no matter what trade you're in, will pay off in dividends in the future. So think about it, and how can you make a special human connection with your customers? In the end, when we sum it all up in the human connection, there's simple things that you can do. Remembering their name, checking in with them from time to time, making sure that every time you come in contact with them, you use their name. Little things along the way are going to basically pay dividends as time goes forward. So make a little point today. Try and remember that name and make sure that you respect each person along the way. Treat them like you would want to be treated, and let's see how that karma comes back to you. I can guarantee you it's going to make your life fuller, and you're going to have happy clients. Thanks again for watching. My name is Bob Campana. My book, Don't Look Down, is available on Amazon. And if you want to learn from me or have a conversation, I'd love for you to DM me, reach out, and let's see what we can do to help you on your journey to be a successful entrepreneur. Thanks again.